Hello and welcome to the 360 Gamercast Paranormal Special. I'm your host, Mark Webb, Gamertag Piss on Steam ID, Webby 360G, and joining me on this very spooky episode is
Cinema Dan, woo! Your mother sucks cocks in hell. Woo!
Hogarth, remember, everything's meaningless and we're all going to die.
Yay!
And Damo Ricardo.
So I was thinking this would be quite an interesting episode to do. So this is a paranormal episode, so we're going to be talking about ghosty and spooky things, and maybe other things. I don't know. Maybe the Loch Ness monster, since Damo lives in Scotland. Ask him if he's seen old Nessie, Bigfoot. Maybe, I don't know. Tell some ghost stories. Yeah, man. It's all good.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, shall we get started off with, have you actually seen a ghost, Dan?
Me? I know you're going to pick on me straight away. Well, have I seen? I've seen a couple of weird things in my time, I suppose, and I think I briefly mentioned a little while ago when we were setting this podcast up, and I did see a odd sight walking back late at night down a country road, and there was a kind of like a top hatted man in some kind of suit staring out into a local park. It looked a bit odd, and we got a bit closer, and then we realised it was a wedding reception around the corner going on. It was the groom still wearing his top hat and all his kit. So, but I suppose in terms of spooky stuff, I mean, I kind of err on the side of being able to explain stuff, but there was one incident, I suppose, when I was at university, and it was my mate's 21st birthday. Can you imagine that? It was about, good God, that was nearly a quarter of a century ago. Jesus Christ. And basically, we started quite early, as you do in your 20s. You know, you get on the alcohol quite early on. So we had a few drinks, and obviously as the day progressed, you know, it kind of got a bit more and more to drink as you get, and obviously the festivities carried on into the night, and I think everyone decamps down to one of the local bars in Brighton Seafront, where we proceeded to drink more alcohol, and you could probably guess what kind of state we were in.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, I think someone had nicked a bicycle, and my mate was standing on top of his student bed with a bottle of champagne in one hand and a girl under his arm and on the other side. But anyway, later on that night, I went to bed and woke up paralysed. I mean, I couldn't move at all, and fucking terrifying. I tell you that now. And at the end of my bed, there was this white figure, and it was just there. It was kind of like what's the best way to describe it? It was kind of elf-like, I suppose, but like white, and it kept on, you know, standing there. And at the time, you know, what the hell's going on? I can't move, and you know, it was quite scary. And then kind of passed out again, and I'm not sure how much time passed, but the same thing happened again. And
oh, damn!
Yeah, you're right.
You're going to find that my story is very similar, but I know what it is.
Yeah, so do I, mate. So, and, you know, at that point, I kind of raised my hand and started to try to signal it, and then this point, you know, I'm still paralysed, but then I pass out again. And the last time, I wake up and this thing's at the end of the bed, but it somehow walks through the door and then comes back through again. And but this time, I knew it wasn't really malevolent, so I was waving my hand around, and then I passed out. And then I suppose the next day, kind of, I just went down and told my mates, and they thought I was crazy. We had consumed an awful lot of alcohol and maybe a little bit of skunk, but
as you do.
as you do in your 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a good boy now, but though that since then, I mean, I mean, what's your gut? I mean, I know Hogarth has probably a similar, so it's probably best to go with his incident first. And I mean, what would you, if someone told you that, Webby, Damo, what would you say to them?
I've actually experienced something very similar. Funnily enough, when I was a kid, but I actually think it's an issue with your sleep where it's something to do with where your brain isn't quite woken up, but you're half asleep, so you can't
Well, yeah,
move your arms and legs and
there's
stuff.
definitely there's definitely an element of sleep paralysis. I mean, I've had
Yeah, I
that
was
on
trying
and
to.
off.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
had that on and off throughout my life, and I haven't had an incident for a few years now. But
yeah.
and that wasn't the first time, and it always comes about, I guess, when I am fatigued and tired and whatever. But you can't really explain the white figure at the end of the bed and why.
No, and
No.
I mean, I used to have the sleep paralysis happen to me a lot as a kid, but I had a similar experience, not where I was paralyzed, but with the white figure, and I can't, and even to this day, I can't explain it. Now, I don't know if it was just my overactive imagination as a kid, or if I actually saw it, because like I vaguely remember it was just after my Nan had died, and like I'm convinced what I saw was her like standing over my bed.
Hmm.
Like when oh God, I can't remember. I must have been about 10 or 11. I was lying in bed one night. I was like, I'd woken up, all tired and that, and I was convinced I saw like this white like figure of my Nan standing over my bed, just looking at me, and I was fucking really scared. So I just hid under the covers. Yeah, but but again, I can't tell you, if that was just me, because because I remember back then I was having a lot of the sleep paralysis issues, and I was having trouble sleeping, and stuff like that. So I can't say for certain that 100% was real. If that makes sense.
Okay. Well, let's hear what Hogarth's got to say, because he's quite clearly had something similar.
Yeah.
Well, mine is sleep paralysis as well. So
Yeah.
I have got another story, but sort of on the sleep paralysis thing. So mine started in 2012. I was working in Liverpool during the week and coming home to York on a weekend, and I had a flat over in Liverpool. And I had all the classic symptoms of sleep paralysis, which is not just not being able to move, but it's also this immense pressure pushing down on your chest.
Yeah.
It feels like you've got like 100 Lisa Rileys literally sat on you. And then you get this strange stereo screeching noise going from left to right in your ears.
I've never had
And then
that.
I didn't have that.
and then this is where there's two variants of it when I've researched it. I get the feeling of something really sinister in the room, but you can't see it, but you think something's there.
Right.
The alternative is people hallucinate a figure either on their chest or at the end of the bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason I was going to mention this is that some people believe that whilst there's a lot of medical research to say it's triggered by your irregular sleep patterns, being stressed, a mixture of all that sort of stuff. But some people believe that especially the pushing down on the chest
It's called
is
do you have your spirit, isn't it?
trying to get back into your body, and it's like
It's got if you want to know more about it, research old hag syndrome. And
Okay.
there's a whole Wikipedia page on it, and it's what they used to believe. It used to be like some kind of malevolent spirit of a hag.
Yeah.
And it used to just haunt. Yeah. But yeah, it comes about when obviously your sleep pattern's screwed up mainly, and there is a scientific explanation by it. It's not like some mad old woman wanting to get into bed with you.
Unfortunately, I have it about once or twice a year now. I literally had it 6 weeks ago as well.
Oh,
Last
wow.
time. And it's the thing is that the last time I had it 6 weeks ago, I'd say all my previous incidents, I don't really know what's going on. This time, my brain was saying, I know what this is, and I was physically trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
And one of the other symptoms is it it feels like it lasts for a long, long time, but in reality, apparently it lasts for minutes, or even maybe not even that, maybe half a minute in reality. But when you're experiencing it, it feels like it's going on for absolutely ages.
Yeah.
Like a dream.
It's some people confuse it with night terrors, but it's definitely not night terrors. That's a different condition. But
Dreams are they only go on for a few seconds, but they feel like they go on for a long time.
yeah. So my only, I'm not going to call it a ghost. I'm going to call it an incident I can't explain. Right. So I used to travel with my job. I used to work in IT professional services a long time ago, and I used to travel around literally week in, week out, living out of a suitcase, going from hotel to bed and breakfast to hotel all over the country. And I'd been sent down to Gloucestershire, and I'd been booked into this B&B, so I'd been to the site where I was working for the day and checked into this B&B, and it wasn't the best place, to be honest. When you go in there and like the carpet's sort of crawling up the side of the skirting board because it's got a bit of damp and it all smelled a bit foisty. And anyway, not much I can do. So bedded down, had something to eat, and then I just remember waking up at probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't sit up, but like your head's on a pillow, so you naturally sort of got an angle looking, and all I can see is there's someone at the end of the bed. I could see their face, I could see their body, but within blinking of a second, blinking my eyes, it disappeared. But this person I could see as clear as day.
That's weird.
And that's my only ever experience. I put it down to I was still asleep and maybe I was still dreaming, but consciously I was awake as far as I was concerned.
I get it sometimes. Yeah, I mean, sorry.
So I was going to say, did you speak to the people that own the B&B to see if anyone else has had those sorts of experiences before?
No, because next morning I was. How old would I have been? I'll have been about 22, 23. You sort of just still learning the ways of the world, and I didn't want to look like an idiot.
Fair enough.
To be honest, I just wanted to get out there as quick as anything, not because of the sighting, but more because of the fucking state of the rooms. And to be honest.
What were you going to say, Dan? Sorry.
No, I've had similar kind of instances like that where it's like almost like a waking dream when you wake up and you see a figure, but then it's like a pile of clothes or something on the back of the door, and it morphs, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I get that from time to time, to be honest with you. So it could be a combination of you seeing shapes or a pattern in something that's not there. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, your
possibly.
imagination is a powerful thing, isn't it? The human mind and the imagination is. You can make you see a lot of things. It's like when your eyes, like when you're in the dark and you've got your eyes open and your eyes can play tricks on you. You can see things that aren't there, like little shadows or whatever. You know what I mean? I always remember like I remember about 6 or 7. Like, I had a really active imagination, and I'd be lying in bed. And there was I remember in my old house, I was on the Isle of Wight. I used to live on the Isle of Wight, and on the bedroom wall there was these little I don't know, call them stains or something like that. But every night I'd lie down, and there'd be a little bit of light in the room, and I'd be lying there looking at these stains, and my eyes would always trick me, and they looked like little people just walking on the spot. I'd actually see them walking. It was really bizarre. I used to get I used to really always see things like that as a kid, and always have a lot of sleep issues where that sleep paralysis you're talking about. I used to get it a lot. I remember I'd wake up in the night and I'd open my eyes, but I couldn't move my head or my arms. I'd be fighting to move my body, and then my dream would be going swirling down in this big kind of, I don't know, swirls of water, like a whirlpool, and then I'd go back to sleep again, and then I'd wake up in the morning and be like, what the fuck? Am I mental? But for me personally, ghost-wise, I haven't really experienced anything apart from what I've mentioned, to be honest. I mean, I've been freaked out, when like as a teenager staying around my mates' houses. At times we'd tell like some ghost stories, or like my mate Dave, he one of his houses his dad had at one time was really old, and we'd get really stoned and then get freaked out at like two in the morning and that. But you get the odd things like where I just think I do believe in ghosts, but I've never had any actual evidence presented to me myself. Because because sometimes you're in like an old house or a building or whatever, and you can sometimes like you'll maybe see something in the corner of your eye, but I think that's your imagination, or like you'll enter a room and like you'll get pins and needles or something, or like and your hairs will stand on them. But I think those things can always be explained in one way or another. So I mean, I love watching like the paranormal documentaries. But I always watch them with a big hint of skepticism, because more often than not, a lot of these so-called hauntings are proven to be fake, which is very frustrating.
It's a bit like good old Derek Acora, who used to turn up at every single old house and then basically go, "Oh, I'm getting a woman. Begins with M."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No. N. Oh, that must be Nana.
I once played quite a funny ghost trick on a poor guy who knocked at the door. So this was shortly after I'd split up with my wife, and I'd got my 2 kids then for tea, and I was sort of rushing around trying to cook their tea, and there's a knock at the door. And back then, I used to find it really difficult to say no to people. If they said, "Are you interested in this?" I'd be like, "Okay, I'll listen." And I just couldn't say no. Fuck off. So there's a knock at the door, and it's a Jehovah's Witness with trying to get me to look at Watchtower magazine and stuff. And he's like, "Are you interested?" And I said, to be honest, mate, I said, "I'm just got my kids. I'm cooking the tea. Can you just come back later?" And he went, yeah. So I shut the door.
Never say that.
Kids had the tea. Mother picked them up, and then my friend Neil came over. This was like probably a couple of hours later, and we're sat having a beer. And there's a knock at the door, and I was like, "Oh God, it's the Jehovah's Witness guy." And I just quickly said to Neil, I said, "Neil, just go answer the door and just tell him I'm not interested." So Neil went to and I didn't know he was going to do this, and he opened the door. The guy couldn't see me, and what I didn't tell you is that the guy had asked me my name, because one of the things he said, "I'm Damon. What's your name?" I said, "It's Nigel." And I said, "Look, just come back later." So when the guy opened the door, he said, "I called earlier and spoke to Nigel. He's here around." And Neil went, "Nigel?" He's like, "No." He says, "There used to be a Nigel who lived here, but he died some time ago." And he just said his face went literally what, and he just turned away and walked off. But,
That's brilliant.
I might do that.
That's funny as fuck.
I personally don't believe in ghosts, but there's a lot of stuff that just I don't know. It's a little bit odd to explain. I used to live in a house where there was a draft, just a certain draft at certain times of the day, all winter, summer, spring, no matter what the weather. There was this just burst of cold air you'd get every now and again in a certain part of this room, and I spent months looking for drafts. I literally make some streamers out of toilet roll to see if I could see where the air was coming from. But every time I put anything up, nothing happened.
So annoying.
And then 2 or 3 weeks later, I'd walk through his room and I'd go, you'd feel the draft again. Like, what?
Oh.
Where? And I never got to the bottom of where it was coming from. I'm sure it was probably just something, I don't know, natural occurring, but just odd things like that makes you think.
See, I mean, there's some stuff that can't be explained, because in a lot of these documentaries where they're with the haunted houses, etc., they bring like the temperature devices in, and then like the rooms that are supposedly having the activity, they get like a big drop in temperature when the activity is happening in that specific room.
It's a big fan, mate.
No, but it's like when I watch like some of these documentaries are quite convincing, and you've got the famous stories, of haunted houses and the exorcists come in and bless the house and all that sort of stuff. And it makes me wonder, like, how some of these stories can be faked. And you got video, like when you got video evidence of like things moving when no one's actually moving, like doors closing or chairs moving.
I haven't seen anything that would convince me of that happening. And I used to watch Ghost Watch all the time when I was a student with Fielding and the aforementioned Derek Acora, and it was always bullshit. It always was. And even if you watch any of these, you always find it's always kind of like a set up like an American, documentary show, so it repeats itself constantly, and it's all glossy, and it's all kind of all exaggerated, and I just don't buy it. I really don't. I've had various people say to me that they've seen loved ones at the time of their loved one's death, where even though they're many miles away. I've had that happen to me a couple of times. People tell me stories like that, and and there is an element, I suppose, of faith that you need to have that make you want to believe that. And even if you do have someone who you've loved and you've lost them, I suppose there's a degree of always having that feeling of them still being around. It's a nice, comforting feeling. So I think that to a degree, there's ways of explaining a lot of these so-called paranormal incidences, such as demonic possession is mental illness to a degree. And when the people say, "Oh, they started talking Latin," did they? What do you know what Latin sounds like?
But some of the, the things that I can't explain right is you've got famous cases where they actually get priests in, and because the priests have to assess the situation right before they can because they have to provide evidence to the higher ups to do the exorcisms and stuff like that. So there's got to be some elements there that makes them think that it's worth doing in some situations. I like to keep an open mind.
What is the truth about exorcisms, though? Do they actually still happen? Because I don't think they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do happen. Yes, they do. 100% they do.
Okay.
So, and this is why a part of me does believe that supernatural things do happen, but I don't think they're super common. Like when I watch a lot of the documentaries and read stories and stuff, I go in with an open mind, and 9 times out of 10 I think to myself, well, this is bullshit. But then there's that there's that 1 time out of 10 where you think to yourself, well, perhaps this is fucking true. You know what I mean? So
there's a very famous UK case, isn't there? The Enfield haunting or the Enfield poltergeist, which I think there's been some TV shows. The Conjuring 2's based on that.
I watched The Conjuring 2 a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Oh, cool.
And the kids now from I think it was like mid 70s that this all happened.
Yeah, it was about late 70s, early 80s. I think The Conjuring 2 places. No, it's definitely late 70s. Yeah, definitely.
It did intrigue me about some of the stuff and some of the pictures and some of the audio that's available that you can listen to, and that papers were not paying them millions of pounds and stuff for it. So why would they make it up? But I don't know. I just find the whole story intriguing. If you read a bit more into it than what The Conjuring goes into, there's whole research being done on those kids at the time and what they are now, and they still stick to their story that what happened. So
yeah, you just don't know, do you? I'm just trying to find, because I did watch one last week, which I was really excited to watch. It was an American one. And then when I read up about it, because I was like, right, okay, this dude's because the dude who presented it like a Ghost Hunters, the American Ghost Hunters or something. And then it got to the end of the documentary, and he actually said, yeah, it's all fake. The people were all faking it. So I was just thinking to myself, I just spent nearly 2 hours watching this bollocks. and it's all fake. But one interesting one I did watch was called Ghosts on the Underground, and so it's all about ghosts on the London Underground, and they they were interviewing some of the tube workers who do the night shifts, like doing the security and stuff like that, and they were talking about how on the security footage at one point they could see someone, like a figure standing by the tracks. So he sent his mate down there, and his mate was down there saying, "Oh, I can't see the guy." And the guy in the security room was like, "He's standing right behind you." And he's like, "Where?" You know what I mean? So it's like there's that, and and they're also saying that there's a lot of the London Underground that isn't used anymore because it was built like fucking forever ago, and there's stations, actual full stations there that haven't been used for like 30 years or more or whatever.
Yep.
And so there's actually quite a good documentary just about that if you want to watch it. You find that on YouTube. But they were talking about there's one section of the tube which isn't used by the general public, and they use it to turn the carriages around. And they were saying that there's a certain section of the track, and they were trying to figure out why. Like when the guards are sitting on the tube on their own because there's no passengers go to that part, they sometimes see ghostly figures or feel like they're being watched or like really cold and stuff. And they sent a guy down there, and they were trying to figure out if there was any like scientific reasons why. So they took all these instruments down, and they were like, well, it's a bit colder down here than everywhere else, and extra magnetic fields and all this bullshit. So it's like, it's about an hour and a half documentary, and it was really, really interesting. Just learning about the London Underground at the same time, to be honest. But you get stories like that, so security guards and things like that, and it's just, how do you explain that, when you've got footage and people's stories and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
It's lonely down there.
Yeah, I was a firm believer in ghosts all through my, teenage years, 20s, 100% ghosts exist. And to an extent, I still think that, but I wonder now whether if ghosts do exist, I think it comes down to whether they are aware that they're here, if you know what I mean. I don't know whether it's somehow the world records certain events and replays it back throughout time, or whether these are spirits that are here and they know they're here and they're, trying to get back to heaven or whatever it is to cross over. I mean, I've had one of the strangest things I think happened to me when I was about 16. I was visiting my grandparents, and my grandma started telling me this story. They used to own a house down in Tunbridge Wells, where there's a shop, grocery shop, and had a house attached. And one day it was just me and her in the house, and I was she said about 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I was toddling about and stuff. And she said that she put me in the garden with some toys, which was an enclosed garden, and there was 2 doors. There was one back through the kitchen and one that had been locked and never used. I don't know. And she went off to the loo because she didn't want me like running through the shop or into the road or whatever. So she just locked me in the garden. And when she came back from whatever she was doing, she found me sat in the middle of the kitchen floor playing, and the door was still locked. She said, and it always amazed me because I was thinking, what the hell went on there? And she said to me, "How did you get in?" And she told me that I sort of described some lady wearing an old black dress with a pinafore and let me in through the door that had never been opened and all this sort of stuff. But she remembered that all them years, and she told me about it, and she was deadly serious. She was like, I have no idea. I locked that door, and you were in the kitchen when I came back. So, I mean, she could have just forgot. She wasn't old then or anything, so it's not like she had anything going on. But I mean, that's one of the strangest things I think I've had. That was a pretty paranormal experience, and that sort of it's almost like a time slip thing going on there. Like maybe the door I went through was, in use years ago, and then that's, I don't know. I mean, that brings me on to something else, because I was watching Strange But True with Michael Aspel.
Oh, okay.
And one of the stories is really good if you've not seen it. And it's from like the 90s or something. One of the stories was this two couples in their 50s, and they used to go to France every year for a holiday. And they were caravanners, but one night they wanted to stop in a hotel, so they went to, well, they just found this hotel, and in the countryside in France, and they went in and had dinner, and everyone was really nice, and they thought it was a bit strange because people were wearing like older than usual clothes and things. But they had a really nice meal, they said, and they went upstairs and they slept, and they took loads of pictures on their camera phones, and not their camera phones, the cameras.
Yeah.
And the next year they went back to try and find the place, because they really enjoyed their stay, and they found what they thought was the place, and it was a basic ruin. And they spoke to a few of the locals and said, we stayed here last year. And they were like, no, you didn't, because this has been like this for about 100 years.
Oh,
I
my
think that-
God.
I think they've been taking mushrooms.
Perhaps they just went to the wrong place.
Yeah.
That could have happened. But yeah, you sort of, two separate couples in their 50s, you sort of like think, well, they probably wouldn't be taking mushrooms, but you don't know.
You'd be surprised, mate.
No problem.
Oh dear. I mean, there's elements of that. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, mate.
Sorry,
We're listening.
sorry, my internet keeps crapping out occasionally. There's an element that's told in the film The Shining, I suppose, to a degree, where there's a whole kind of time slip element and kind of like a slip in what's an alternate dimension almost. But then again, it kind of ties to madness and the desire to murder and shit. So it's odd. It's a common. I don't think it's too common, but it's something we've heard before. That kind of story, whether it happens or not, I don't know. But it's not an original take on something, I guess. So yeah, interesting.
I mean, there is. I can't remember the name of the film, Dan. You'll probably remember it. It's set in like a mansion, and there's two sets of families, all in two different time periods, and they keep on seeing each other, and they think that each other are ghosts.
Yeah, it's called The Others. With Nicole Kidman,
Yeah, it's a really good film. That.
Yeah, spoilers.
Oops. Oh well, Dom dies. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting thing that you were saying, Damo, about, it could be like a recording in time, maybe, or they don't even know that it goes.
Record things and replay it.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, man?
I mean, this story's been, it's gone about in all different forms, but basically you got someone driving along. And like in the story I see the other day, it was actually a motorbiker, and he see this girl on the side of the road hitchhiking, and he picked her up. She jumped on the back of the bike, put her arms around him. She said, "Yeah, I live at so and so house." He drove to so and so house. When he got there, he went to get off his bike, and she's not there anymore, and he's freaked out. He's like, "What the hell?" And he went up to the house, knocked on the door, and said, "I just picked up this girl, and she said to take me here." And the mum's broken down in tears, being like, "That was our daughter. That was our daughter. She died about 10 years ago or something." I mean, that is freaky stuff.
Yeah. Bloody hell, it's mental.
Different forms of things as well. So yeah, it could just be a story, but usually there's no smoke without fire, sort of thing.
Yeah. Crazy, man. I mean, have you guys ever experienced anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I haven't really.
No. I mean, have you watched any documentaries that have made you think, this could be real?
Not really, no. I've been scarred with the likes of psychics and mediums and all sorts of, celebrity-based bullshit over the years. But I am a sucker for horror movies, though, and ghost stories and so forth. In the sense that they kind of they are based on intensive real life encounters, I suppose, to a degree.
Well, like The Exorcist is a prime example, isn't it? It's probably the most popular one that's supposedly based on a real story, isn't it?
Yeah, that film. Oh, it's based on the book. Yeah, on the story. That film is amazing. If you haven't seen it,
Oh, it is mental.
that's-
Freaks you out. I mean, it's horrible.
it is. Yeah, but it's. I've seen there's about 3 different versions of it.
Right.
I
I'm
think they're
talking
doing
about the original.
Yeah, original. There's about 3 different versions of it because they released it. There's a really good documentary done by Mark Commode on it about the whole backstory and how they kind of, I suppose, it was based on a real life encounter, and the whole kind of premise of the film was to make you believe that it was happening, almost done in a documentary type style. Have you guys seen that, Exorcist?
Yeah, I've seen
Yes,
it.
yeah.
Excellent film, excellent. I'm just trying to think what else really. As I said, it's. I mean, I did watch all the Conjuring universe movies recently, and I think I've still got one more to watch, and they tend to be, as we were talking earlier, the second one's based on the Enfield poltergeist kind of encounter. Takes it very loose. There's a couple of bits in it which I think was the bit as you were saying, no Hogarth, the guy, the old guy through the girl talking on the tape. But the first, I think the first one, it's probably the best one to watch. I think it's based on a real life case, and at the centre of the whole kind of universe is the other Warrens, who are 2 real life paranormal investigators, and there's a whole wealth of kind of information about all their cases and what they got up to. And again, it's all fantastical when you get to the cinema screen. But it's interesting because at the end of each of the films, they'll give you the real life scenario, the real life people involved. Even the Annabelle doll was a real life occurrence, although the Annabelle doll's a little bit more of a rag doll than like a demonic, evil-looking porcelain motherfucker
Right.
who just. I mean, that rag doll's not creepy enough. Let's go for something that would scare the bejesus out of grown adults. But yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, I grew up on a diet of horror movies when I was a kid, so I've seen them all pretty much. And I think the creepiest one I've seen, The Shining, still makes me go. Trying to think else. What other ones have you been watching when you guys?
The one of the horror films that really freaked me out as a kid was Entity. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah, I've seen
because
that one.
it's about a poltergeist that's haunting this woman, and it's just so well done. You see like the fingerprints, like the finger impressions going up on her bed sheets when she's asleep, and all that sort of so fucking freaky, man.
Yeah. There was the Amityville Horror. Did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, that's based on an actual house, isn't it? In America.
Well, I think apparently the Warrens were involved with that as well. It's covered briefly at the start of Conjuring 2.
Oh, okay.
It starts off there. It's kind of like the whole setup for what happens later on in that film, but they obviously didn't go there and cover the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, you go, mate.
I was just about to say that some of the old films, like the Hammer Horror ones, I say Hammer Horror, but The Haunting is an old black and white film called The Haunting. And it's obviously back then they didn't have the CGI and stuff, so it had to be more atmospheric. But I remember watching that when I was a kid. And there's when you watch things when you're a kid, it does affect you more.
Yeah.
Because if I watched it now, it probably wouldn't, be half as scary as it was. But because it was just as atmospherical, and there was bangs and things that go bump in the night, and you didn't really see a lot, and but it was just it's your imagination, isn't it, playing with you really.
Yeah.
Recent 2 films for me that stick out: Hereditary.
Oh yes.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay. I'll check on my watch
It's
list.
really fucked up.
Yeah, don't mess about. And then a really sort of bleak. Oh, it's quite drab, and I won't say but it's quite dark as well. One called The Witch.
Yes.
Okay,
Excellent.
I've not seen these films.
Robert Edgar. Same guy did The Lighthouse. He's got a new one coming soon as well.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you go, man.
No, well, I was just about to say that Daniel Radcliffe, the Woman in Black, was pretty good as a
Yes,
sort
it
of
was. Yeah.
ghostly jump film.
Yeah, there was a I did actually see. Was it earlier this year or late last year? The TV version of that. It came out in the 1990s or late 80s. Anyway, there was a TV version of it, and it kind of faded into. Well, it's like a TV film. It's not like a serial, but it kind of faded into obscurity, but then got resurrected again on someone cleaned up and then transferred it over to a nice shiny Blu-ray copy print. And having seen the stage show when I was a kid, or Webby the Black, I haven't seen the Daniel Radcliffe one, mainly because the original TV show scared the shit out of me. But it's done. It looks like it's very TV studio set in the sense, but there's a sense of dread through that film that just builds and builds and builds, and then it's bleak. Yeah, it's not a particularly cheery film, is it?
No, it is quite a dark film.
If you get a chance to see the TV version of it, I do recommend it because it's sometimes, I suppose, TV shows don't really do stuff justice. This is good though, really good.
Yeah, I would just like to talk about, people when they think about ghosts, they're thinking about, people walking through walls and, like you said earlier, people at the end of your beds and that. But there's also objects that come back. For instance, ghost ships and trains. Now, there's been accounts of two types of ghost ship. One is a ship floating along in the sea, and these things are usually told. It was a stormy night, and we saw this ship floating along. They suddenly disappeared, and then there's the other ships that have just like the Mary Celeste, for instance.
I was about to mention that. Yeah, just found with no crew.
So there's supposed to be quite like 1,000 or more boats and ships floating about on the sea right now that haven't got any crew on. And, there's a lot of mysteries surrounding what's happened to them. And, people have gone on board and, tried to investigate these things. But, I mean, that's a ghost story in itself, isn't it? You find a ship in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of the Atlantic, for instance, there's got no crew on board and there's no idea what's happened to them. And, these spectral trains, like you were saying earlier, Webby, about the underground and that. And there's also stories about, the trains going through the underground, ghost trains that, are actually there. People have seen. So it's not just people, which that makes me think that somehow life can replay certain events, certain emotional events,
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, it's not something I really thought about, to be honest, like actual objects. I mean, when you said objects, I was thinking, when people catch on camera, like the orbs, like they say, oh, look, all these floating orbs, that's spirits and shit like that. I was actually thinking of vehicles and stuff, but I see plenty of ghost ships on Sea of Thieves every single night when I'm playing that.
The American instances.
I mean, that was an abandoned ship, though, wasn't it? It was found just floating with no one on board, right?
I think a lot of the case, especially with ships like that, sailors back in those days were full of tall tales, over-exaggerated, scurvy, hallucinogenics, all sorts of nonsense. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those stories are exaggerated. And likewise, any ship that is kind of sailing around the world at the moment without a crew, there was all sorts of reasons potentially. You could have had foul play, piracy, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not entirely convinced it's a supernatural thing. But as I said, when you do come across something unexplained, it does also, you do have to go through the process of elimination, I suppose.
Yeah.
Have you ever come across astral projection?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Explain this to me.
It's out of body kind of stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, it's
all right. Yeah.
It's the I'm not going to call it a science because it's not, but the ability to leave your body whilst it's asleep and basically have a second life in an out of body experience. And I used to know a guy. This is my late teen years, a long time ago. He was convinced he was going to learn how to do astral projection because he'd been told that if you can control what you can do whilst you're projecting, then you can basically lead this second life whilst you're asleep.
Right.
But there's a lot of people do believe in astral projection as a way of, and it's sort of related to that. Is it your spirit that's leaving your body?
I think
Is it
I
something
think they're
else,
just dreaming.
or is it just a load of drugs?
Load of drugs. I think they're a little bit mad, man.
My dad used to tell me about a friend of his that he was into that, and he reckons he could leave his body, and there'd be this really fine silver thread that he'd just pull back, and it would put him back into his body if he needed to. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but that astral projection, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that you could do that, because sometimes you have dreams and you feel like you could control them if you were a bit more mentally, I don't know, I don't want to say stronger, but more experienced. The really vivid dreams you have, and you can remember them for a while afterwards, and it just feels like you could manipulate the dream.
Yeah.
If you were a bit more, I don't know how to
maybe.
put it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't doubt that you could, if you practiced enough, you could. I don't know whether it's just a dream or it is actually your soul leaving your body, but there's definitely something there, I think.
Is there anything else you guys want to bring up? Because otherwise we'll probably go to questions and end it shortly. Otherwise,
yeah, not really. Especially, I mean, there's lots of bit unexplained stuff out there. It's not really like when we did, the other podcasts with the whole kind of conspiracy aspects over alien life on Earth and flying saucers. There's not much really to say on that aspect. I mean, I don't think there's a big conspiracy regarding this.
No.
It's to a degree there is different strands of pseudoscience that try to explain these kind of stories and reports.
Do you think people who are more religious are more likely to believe in ghosts?
Yeah, I think so.
To a degree, I'm not necessarily. I think they believe in spirits, as in people who they know. I think the problem when you start talking about paranormal and ghosts and malevolence and demons and stuff like that, there's to a degree that's a leap, another type of leap of faith. If that makes sense. I mean, all the people I know who are quite religious, they don't believe in ghosts. It's odd. I mean, I think to a degree, ghosts are when you feel a sense of dread when you experience it. There's something about ghosts, unless it's like Casper the Friendly Ghost, I suppose, where there's something at risk here, whether it be your own well-being or sanity or something like that.
So you don't believe in ghosts, Dan? I mean, do you believe that people could be possessed by demons, or do you think they're just nuts?
I believe people believe that they're possessed by demons, which is completely different. Like Charles Manson, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was just insane and evil. But I don't necessarily believe in demonic possession. I like watching films about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different type of thing, but at the same time, you hear all these stories, and I think to a degree there are it's mental illness at the end of the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do have another question actually. It's just popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Have any of you ever done a Ouija board? And if you haven't, would you?
Yeah, I have.
Anything happen?
Do you know what? I was just thinking about that when you said about it. I was on a couple over the years, just made up ones with cards and stuff like that. And do you know what? Every part of me wants to tell you that the glass shot across the room and it spelled out your name and told you your future or whatever. But in actual fact, nothing happened on the ones I did, which is pretty boring. And I'd love to tell you a different story, really would, but yeah.
Well, the thing about the Ouija boards is that you could actually buy them in shops back in the 70s, couldn't you?
We still can in America.
Yeah.
People see them like games and stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's odd, isn't it? I mean, there's you could actually go into a shop next to Mousetrap and Ludo and Cluedo and all that, buy a Ouija board.
Is he a demon?
Yeah, it's fucking mental. I mean, I wouldn't do one on the grounds that it's not for my own well-being. It's the well-being of other people to a degree. I'm quite sure of myself, but if you're doing a Ouija board, I wouldn't do one on my own anyway. What's the bloody point? You would do it someone else, and you don't really.
Good thing to do in a group, isn't it? And,
well, that's the thing. Yeah, you do it, and I wouldn't do it with other people because I'd be concerned for the other people because I don't know how they're going to react. You know.
I know.
It's an odd one, but yeah, should they be? I don't know. I don't believe in banning stuff like that. But they kind of lost favour anyway, didn't they? Over the years, they stopped. I think there were so many negative stories going out about them. The MB Games or whatever it was decided to stop making them or supplying them. But yeah, would anyone else use one? I know you would, Webby.
No, I wouldn't dare. No, I've heard too many stories. I mean, it's probably a lot of it is bullshit. But I like the thing that's always stuck with me when it comes to those is I remember my mate telling me that his mum told him a story of when she did it with some people, and they had a horrible experience with it where they started to feel really cold, and the glass was like just spelling out like horrible words, and then he said to me that shortly afterwards one of her friends died who did it with them. Now I don't know how true all of this is, but that is definitely a story that has certainly stuck with me. And I am quite, as I say, I do keep an open mind, and I do find myself to be quite a superstitious person at times, and because
that's
I've
OCD.
heard, and well, yeah, and because I've heard so many negative stories surrounding it, and I do get shitted up quite easily, and with things like that, I just wouldn't do it because I know I'll just fucking shit my pants, I'm just being quite honest with that. I just wouldn't, want that. That just the fear that something could happen, no matter how much of a minimal chance there is, I just wouldn't do it. Especially now I've got kids and stuff as well.
Of course,
there's also like some stories that I do find. Well, I'm not going to go into any specifics because I can't actually remember. But there's this theory that young children see more paranormal things than adults because their minds are more open and more susceptible to these things, and the same with animals as well, right? So the other day, as an example, my missus comes upstairs. I mean, I live in the man cave pretty much, and my missus comes up to me and she goes, "Marcus has told me something really weird." I was like, "Well, what?" And out the back of my house is a train track, and you can't get to my garden from it because there's like barbed wire fence and there's like a ditch and that outside my fence and that as well.
You're still living in the prison then, Mark?
What's that, mate?
You're still living in the prison then?
Pretty much. Well, I'm moving next week, so I'm going to be moving out of that. But I'm going into an open prison next. But it's so Mrs. comes up and goes, "Marcus just ran in the house almost in tears." I was like, "Well, what happened?" And she said he saw something really scary outside on the train tracks. And I said, "Well, what did he see?" And she said, "Well, he couldn't really explain it. He saw a person." And I said, "What?" Yeah, and she said that she went out there and she didn't see anything, but she said because Marcus, if it was just a normal person or whatever, he wouldn't give a shit, but she said that what he saw was really scary, and I was like, "Oh, that's a bit weird." You know what I mean? It's like things like that. I don't know if kids can see things that we can't. You know what I mean?
Scarlett, my little girl, when she was about 3 and that, she used to sit up in her bedroom playing and joking. And she started mentioning some man that was up there playing with her called Mr. Chuckles, which sounds absolutely
Mr.
ridiculous.
Chuckles.
Yeah.
Oh my
dearie me.
god.
What
What
the
his name?
hell?
Barry. Barry Chuckles.
That's really odd because you have reminded me that my daughter, who's 25 this year, when she was about 5, I used to drop her off with my mum and dad and go shopping, and just for a couple of hours and stuff. And my mum said at one point, she started talking to someone who lives behind the fridge. I'm like, what? But every time she went, she would spend 20 minutes talking to this person behind the fridge as if they were literally there. I can't remember what she called him. But yeah, that's really odd.
That's freaky as fuck.
Yeah.
That is something that should be investigated further, because a child's mind is completely innocent. It's completely untapped sort of thing. When my daughter was upstairs and she's playing, and then I said, "Well, who were you talking to upstairs?" And she's on about this man that was playing a game with her and that. And it is really freaky, but especially as it was a man, because a little girl at that age, I'm sure if they had imaginary friends, would be other girls. I mean, I'm not stereotyping and that, but it was just it gave me goosebumps when she was like explaining to me who she was playing with and that.
Yeah.
It's weird. And like it's the same with pets as well. I remember I was sat in my old bedroom when I was a teenager, night time, just about to go to bed, and my dog was sat on the bed, little Jack Russell, and she was growling at something. And her head was moving really slowly around the room. There was nothing there. There was no flies. There was no nothing. And she was like, "Brr, brr." It was freaking me out. I tell you, I was
I can imagine. Bloody hell.
like,
Mr. Chuckles has come.
Yeah, Mr. Chuckles. He's come for a tickle.
Oh, mate. That's freaky, man. That is freaky.
Animals are supposed to be able to see things as well, like kids as well, aren't they?
Yeah, especially dogs, funnily enough. Yeah. That was just it's just weird. I mean, I don't know if it's just their overactive imaginations for children, or if they actually are more susceptible. I don't know. It's just really odd, and something that I've always found quite fascinating.
It's a funny thing. I was watching a video the other day of Gettysburg, which was in the American Civil War, a place in America where there was a lot of fighting back in the day. And these people were videoing this forest. And you can watch it for yourself on YouTube. Just type in Gettysburg ghosts. And in the distance where the forest is, it's night time. I think they must have some sort of like night vision camera going or something, but you can see figures moving around in the forest, and they're recording it, and they're like, "Oh my god, did you see that?" And that was pretty believable. A lot of people died in that war. I mean, a lot of people have died in a lot of wars, but it was really interesting, and it's worth a watch if you get a chance.
Oh, okay. It's freaky, man.
And someone was talking about Latin earlier, and I always remember my dad. He used to go when we used to live down in Kent. There's quite a few castles around, old Roman castles. One of them's called Richborough, and it's basically a ruin now. You still got the walls and the outline of the moats and stuff like that. And he used to go metal detecting, and he didn't have permission to go metal detecting, so he used to go in the night time. So he'd have his earphones on, and he used to tell me he'd have his can of Tennants, which obviously brings into the old drink driving thing. But back in the 80s, who cared about that?
Yeah.
And so he's wandering around these fields surrounding this 2,000-year-old Roman castle. And there was a couple of stories he told me about. One night he could hear like chanting, and he took his earphones off, and he could hear this faint like chanting in the background. And he swore that he walked around this corner and he saw a load of like silhouettes of Roman soldiers walking away from him. And I was like,
Right.
yeah,
What?
Bullshit.
How drunk was your dad?
he's on the tenants as well, so who knows? But I can imagine doing that, being in that sort of environment in the middle of, 10, 11 o'clock at night, pitch black, with the moonlight. It can be a bit freaky and play tricks with your mind as well. So, yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, I mean,
stories, isn't it?
well, one thing that I've always wondered, right, is why do people only see ghosts and stuff at night time?
I don't
It's
think
all-
they do they? There's
That just seems
sightings. It seems to be more associated with night, but I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that people do
Yeah.
claim they see in the day.
Well, maybe they see more things at night because their eyes are playing tricks on them.
yeah.
In the 3-minute research I did preparing for this web,
3 minutes. Perfect.
Good man.
More than me, mate.
have a look on YouTube. There's a UK drone footage of a guy literally in the daytime in a field, and he spots something over in sort of the edge of a wood, and it's like it's like a white woman. It does look like there's something there, but you don't know. Obviously, he could have staged this and set this up beforehand. He claims he didn't, but it's just an example of a.
It's actually, I've seen that what you're talking about, and
What's it
if you
called?
type
I'm trying to find it. What do I type
trail
in?
cams,
Let me try. Hang on a sec.
Trail what? Trail camera.
I was talking about something else because I have seen the footage of the drone spotting someone in the forest, but there's also creepy trail cams. Trail cams, like in America, people set them up in their gardens to watch the wildlife and that. And there's some freaky stuff on there that have just been picked up. Like, I don't know, you'd have to watch some. I was watching it the other night just to sort of get in the mood for this podcast, and some of the things that people have spotted in their gardens just shouldn't be there. So you don't know this. It's ridiculous.
Go to this one, Webby. I'll put it in the Discord chat.
Okay.
And you want to go to about 2 minutes in, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
So you're going up on Twitch. Ooh.
This is really exciting conversation for people.
It is. It's terrifying. This is
Quality radio.
This is dead air classic.
Oh, they're just seeing like someone standing on the edge of the black-eyed canoe chase girl. What am I?
Oh,
someone wearing all freaky. Right, shall I get into some questions that we've had then?
Yeah, man. Yeah, go for it.
We haven't had many.
Okay.
But I just thought it'd be good to read some out. Okay, Wes asks, would you rather get anal probed by aliens or raped by a ghost in your sleep?
Jesus Christ.
That's easy. The aliens, that means we know that there's more than us around then, and I don't mind having a bit shoved up my bum now and again.
Do I have to answer that?
Well, the ghost thing might feel quite nice.
Yeah, let's go with that then.
Yeah. Oh, Clarky asked a question I actually asked you guys earlier. He says, have any of you done a Ouija board? I have, and still to this day, I can't explain how it worked because weird shit started to happen and we were spilling out some interesting things from the other side.
No.
I think
No.
That's a Ouija board. My other half, she doesn't believe in ghosts and everything, and I always come back to: would you spend the night if you knew there was no one else there? Would you spend the night in some old asylum, some old castle, all on your own?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No way, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't be scared at all.
No.
There'd be nothing to worry about. No.
Well, as I said, if you would go, you would want to go there to make sure it's safe in the sense that you're not going to walk into a death trap with falling masonry and shit. And then you would have set yourself up for the night. Whether you have a tent or a nice little sleeping bag, weeding material, and then off you pop. 7-8 hours, job done.
You know what? I totally respect that way of thinking as well. And I've seen a few documentaries where people have been like that, and things that they've heard noises, and it would literally take you seeing someone walk through a wall before you'd even begin to believe that there was something, there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. The thing is, if you start hearing stuff, I suppose, but if you're hearing like drips or the sound of a fox in the background or foxes, because they make a right racket.
Oh, they bloody do.
Or a rock, falling down or something.
Yeah, but in the UK, we don't really have any kind of, wildlife that would kill you. However, if you go abroad, even in some places in Germany, when there's wild wolves running around, you would maybe think about it. I mean, that would be what I'd be more scared of. Wild animals.
So okay, I like that sort of attitude of it doesn't exist unless there's scientific proof for it. I do like that. And back in the day, I used to hate that because I just wanted to believe. But now I've got older and think, oh yeah. There's more to it than that.
Exactly, yeah. It's you kind of set your own belief system up and what would test it. And at the moment, everything I come across, it means that my belief system's still intact.
Yeah.
It would take something quite dramatic to shake that. So, if aliens or ghosts turned up tomorrow and went, "Hello, we're real," I might have to reassess that.
I'm still worried that Dan's first question about would you go to the haunted castle for the night on your own, stay there, and is worried about the health and safety certification that they have.
I mean, in all fairness, it's a valid point. I mean, I am an ex-health and safety professional. I did that many years ago. But when you were a kid and you saw these, everyone had a haunted house in the neighbourhood. The one that almost, they're just about to get demolished or whatever. I mean, we had a couple, and used to dare each other to hang around there, and everyone used to get the jitters or whatever. But you kind of got the understanding and the know-how to, that is.
Oh, have we lost Dan?
Exactly.
Your outlook is really it's black and white. It either does or it doesn't.
To a degree, there's shade. There's not. I don't describe it black and white. There's shades of grey with anything. And even when it comes to the paranormal and ghosts, I think there's shades of grey to a degree where, in certain circumstances, if you don't understand the science and you can't explain it, you might have doubts.
It comes down to the science. Without the scientific proof, you won't believe it, no.
It's hard to say. To be honest with you, I mean, there's elements of it depends. We're kind of going into the territory of whether or not you believe in life after death and where do your loved ones go and all that. So, that's not necessarily a religious kind of aspect. It's kind of like a belief or a faith in the sense that you believe that you will see certain people again, and where do they go? You can't explain it. You don't quite know. Are they watching over you? That kind of thing. So to me, that I'm quite, what's the best word for it? Agnostic in that degree. If I'm being honest, I don't subscribe to any kind of written text or literature like the Bible or whatever. I don't believe that. I think a lot of those, a lot of that's control.
I think and I think it's a nice thing. I do like to believe that once I die, I will go and see my grandma again and my granddad and all that sort of thing. I like to believe that. But if I was a betting man, I would probably bet against him.
The best thing about that, though, you won't be able to collect your bet. Try that at the bookies tomorrow. I dare you.
I've got a really odd position because I don't believe in ghosts, but I'm going to sound contradictory. If you were to put me in the middle of a graveyard or in the middle of a haunted house and said you're staying there for night, I would shit myself. I would literally shit myself at the thought of something will be here and I'll hear and see things.
Well, dead people, mate.
I don't believe in them.
There'd be some graveyards have sinkholes, which is dangerous. So be careful.
There's the health and safety kicking in again.
Exactly. there was a graveyard in Brighton Town City Centre, just off the clock tower, where they had to close the whole area off because the graveyard there, the graves are so old that there are unmarked graves there, and they were literally collapsing and making holes. So, yeah. And besides, you might have like spooky Michael Jackson come up, and no one wants to have spooky Michael Jackson come up.
Now, especially not the
True.
kids.
No, exactly.
Like,
But one thing to get talk about is if you don't believe in ghosts or things like that, then every single documentary, every single story you've ever heard is completely made up by the person that's doing it, mental health, whatever. So
not necessarily.
I'm not. I am not. I'm open-minded. I don't not believe, and I do believe. But yeah, proof would be nice. As I've got older, the scientific side of it has become
Well,
more.
How about you take this away with you? But if someone tells you a story and that happened to them and they believe it, there's no reason why you should not believe them. However, at the same time, that doesn't mean that you agree with it or you believe in ghosts. You believe that person experienced that incident. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a slight difference. So whether or not they're mistaken or they did see something or whatever, rather than say to them that's bullshit, just listen to them. Just listen to them. If they believed it, that's a nice.
If they believed it, it's basically coming down to some sort of mental health thing.
Well, not necessarily. It could be like a trick of the light. It could be.
Well, yeah,
They could be
all
drunk, or they could be whatever. I mean, if they start running around believing that they're like the son of Satan and they're self-harming and shit, I mean, that's a cause for concern, definitely. But if they said, for example, and this is as what I was saying earlier, that they saw like their loved one just at the same time when they actually passed away elsewhere in the country, there's no reason to say nonsense. But that's them dealing with the death, and they may have seen them in their head. They may have imagined it, or the whole kind of stress of finding out that information may have created that scenario, which is very real to them.
yeah.
So there's no reason to doubt them on that behalf, and I think that's quite nice and comforting to a degree. That if someone trusts you enough to say that and say they've come across that you're mature enough to say, oh really, okay, and believe them. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you believe in ghosts. It doesn't at all.
No. I think there's more goes on than we realise. That's what I think.
Yeah.
We only see in a certain wavelength. There's other. I don't know what the technical term of it is, but there's more going on than we realise, I think.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts. There's when you start digging down into it, there's different wavelengths along the wavelengths of light, for example. There's when you boil down to it, there's you go down to the quantum level that we're only really just starting to understand, and then some. So there's all sorts of bits there. There's parts of obviously there's whole kinds of stories, like parts of the brain that are not used, which I don't quite subscribe to be honest with you.
You never know.
But there's reports of telekinesis and telepathy and all sorts, and it's an interesting subject to read about. But again, it's pseudoscience at the end of the day at the moment.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah. I can appreciate that. I just feel that whether there are ghosts or not, life is not just black and white. There is an in between where we can't quite figure out what's going on, and whether that is somehow because I used to hear stories about Anne Boleyn. She was Henry VIII's, one of his wives, second, third wife.
Yeah.
And
10 fingers, 2 thumbs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And her figure, well, she has been heard to be running down the corridor, Hampton Court Palace, screaming, begging for her life, as she supposedly did the night before she got executed. And I just feel like, sometimes in high emotion, things or places can somehow record things that have happened and replay them later on, or this high emotion thing.
Maybe
I feel like is something.
So I mean, the human brain is a complicated thing. So whether or not there's any elements of projection there, I don't know. But yeah, odd times, odd things.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, but Brian Cox has used the Hadron Collider to say it disproves the existence of ghosts because it violates the second law of thermodynamics. But that's a whole different.
Okay. Well, what about
I got a lot of time, Brian Cox. Yeah.
what about other dimensions or other planes? Of existence.
Multiverse.
There's part of me wants to think that there is a parallel universe or a parallel world to us. That there's a Webby and a Dan and a 360G somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's a whimsical, fanciful idea, but I just like the thought of it.
It's you're boiling down to, was it quantum theory now, aren't you? Where
Yes.
every single atom and particle can rotate in different directions, or was it protons? Was it protons or quarks or some nonsense like that? I can't remember. But even at that level, they vibrate in different directions, and that inevitably leads to infinite possibilities of how any set of molecules and atoms moving in direction. So, when people say, if you decide to turn left versus right, and there's another dimension where you go the opposite direction, which you actually did, and if everyone's doing that, you've got ultimate chaos theory. So, inevitably, this is what the TV the Marvel movies are doing right now, in the sense that there's a infinite possibilities of anything's possible out there. So there's that aspect, but at the same time, I suppose when we're talking about wavelengths of light as well, it's whether or not there's different wavelengths of existence off the back of that. My head hurts now.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, if you guys get a chance, and this isn't really a ghost film, but it was scary like a ghost film. Dark Skies is definitely worth a watch.
Oh yeah, I've seen that about the what do they call it? The experiments they claim to have done on the teenage boys.
Yeah, they're living at home with their family.
The Dark Files.
Dark Skies.
Dark Skies. Hang on a sec. I think it's the same thing I'm thinking about.
It's really good. It's one of the scariest things I've seen.
Okay. Bit of light bedtime viewing for everyone there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. I was mixing it up with something called the Dark Files. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's quite funny actually, Webby, when you was going on about seeing, was it a funeral you went to and you saw someone? Was it?
What's that, mate? Well, my nan.
Yeah. So my granddad died, and I remember going up to my grandma's house, and I was slept in the living room on a pull-out sofa, and I was about 12, and before I went to bed, I saw the chair in the corner and it had some washing piled up. And I just remember looking over there. I think I was trying to scare myself at the time. I was like hiding under the duvet and, just, whatever. And it was pitch black, apart from the light shining from the sky, the moon and that. And I could make out the figure of my granddad sat in that chair. It had changed from pile of washing to an actual figure sat there. And to this day, I'm like convinced that he'd just come back. And I was going to say something to him, but I couldn't get the courage to say anything. But I pulled the duvet over my head and I went to sleep.
Fair enough. Clarky's just asked, has anyone did anyone watch Fringe back in the day? Because I haven't.
I started watching it. I got through about 2 series, I think.
Is that like a spooky show or a dimensional time travel show or something like that, or what's it about?
More the latter, I think, from where it was going.
Did he have a question about that, or is it just?
No, well, Clarky's saying that he's done a Ouija board, and he said that he was pooing himself when the glass started to move.
That was your mate, Clarky.
Yeah, I imagine it was his mate. You were getting done over.
That's the thing with a Ouija board, isn't it? Because there's going to be more than one of you, and if it does start moving, you're just going to think it's the other person.
Yeah, that's
Everything,
it. Yeah.
you know. Unless it starts flying across the room and spelling out things that no one would ever know.
Yeah. Oh, so go for another question.
Yeah, man.
Turner asks, why aren't the places where humans have lived and died the longest, the most haunted? Does that make sense?
Oh,
Say that
say that again.
Why aren't the places where people have lived and died for the
Ah.
longest the most haunted?
So you're basically talking about
Really
I see what you're
old
saying.
places, yeah. Like so,
Yeah.
the longest, like the oldest place is the most haunted. Is basically
Well, the longest place, but then again, if to a degree, I suppose. But even so, if it's something there's.
Does he mean like why is York more haunted than Milton Keynes?
Yeah.
Why aren't?
Sorry, go on.
So he's just asking, why aren't the oldest places the most haunted?
Why aren't they? But they could be.
They could be, yeah.
But then again, there's also loads of haunted places in America, for some reason, even though it's quite relatively young as a country. So I'm calling bullshit on that one for in America. But
I feel like you get these castles or 1,000 years old. I think that most people, and I know this is getting into religion, but this is my belief that most people, when they die, if there is a heaven or whatever, a hell, they go off to them places, and every now and then, some people don't, and they're just stuck here. That's the ghost side of me coming out.
Stuck here in a cold, dark castle when it rains most of the time, gutted.
But whether to them it's a cold, dark castle or it's exactly how it was when they were alive, you don't know.
We should have asked Peebs because when he came to York a couple of months ago, he did the Ghost Walk tour. There's a company
Did it in the daylight as well.
No, pussy.
Softy.
So Clarky in the Twitch chat is just saying that when he did the Ouija board, he said it spelt out answers to questions that he asked that only he knew the answer to. So he is a firm believer.
So
he was the one
yes and no answers.
He was the one pushing the glass,
Yeah.
I'm not writing it off. Thousands of Ouija boards have been done throughout the world, I'm sure, and to say that every single one of them didn't work would be, I don't know. I wouldn't like to believe that. There's some sort of energy out there that I think could manipulate something like that. I mean, I was watching. You're going to laugh at this, but I was watching Clarkson's The Farm the other day. I don't know if any of you seen it.
No, that's very popular at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's really good, and obviously it's not about ghosts or anything like that. But there was one part where he was searching for water under his field, and he used those. I can't think of what they're called. They're two like
divine rods.
Yeah, and he was walking along. He was like, "I cannot believe this is working," and they were just like turning in his hand. And back in the day, Arthur C. Clarke used to do stuff like that, and it used to be proper supernatural. But these days, it seems like more of a scientific thing because more and more people do it, and it's not a big deal. It's like these rods are, it's like a magnet. They're just attracted to the water, and they just turn in your hand as you're walking along.
Dowsing. Sorry, I dropped out a second. You're talking about dowsing.
Yeah, that's right.
Roger. Okay. Yeah,
I was just saying, back in the day, they used to be quite a supernatural thing, but nowadays they just seem to be like magnets attracted to metal. They just where the water is, they seem to like go with it. Because on the farm, the Jeremy Clarkson thing, he was walking along with someone, and he was like, "This is mad. What is going on?" And they were just moving in his hand.
That's pretty cool, though, isn't it?
It wasn't trying to be supernatural or anything. It was just like, "This is mental. I can't. What's going on?"
That's cool. Just on the paranormal stuff as well, because we haven't got any more questions. Before we end, I just want to ask, just on another paranormal thing. Do you believe in things like the Loch Ness monster or Bigfoot or demons or like other various paranormal things? Because we've mainly just talked about ghosts throughout the episode, haven't we?
No, no, and no. Thanks. See you later.
Yep. No. It's Nessie's a tourist trap. Bigfoot's just a really big guy who wants to be left alone in the woods. And what was the other one?
Loch Ness Monster.
Like
Loch Ness
demons.
Monster.
Yeah.
Demons. There's evil people. That's all I'm saying. I believe in evil people.
I think as far as the Loch Ness Monster goes, I've looked into it a little bit, and Loch Ness, it used to be a lot deeper than it is now. I know it's a really deep loch, but it used to be a lot deeper, and it used to go out to the sea and stuff, and it's gone down over the years, and you can't, it's just a loch now, it's a lake. And to think that Plesiosaurus might have lived in there, and when the water levels went down, it managed to survive somehow is not. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibilities. A long while ago. There's so many stories. I really did look into that at one point. There was this couple driving down one of the roads alongside the loch, and in the distance they could see something crossing the road. And the closer they got, they saw it was basically the Loch Ness Monster. I think,
Is that on a day trip?
Yeah. It's a Plesiosaurus. It's basically, long neck, flippers.
Yeah.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility to think that something like that got caught in a massive body of water like Loch Ness and managed to survive for thousands of years, or I suppose it would be millions of years actually.
Millions, it'd be at least 65 million years.
Yeah,
maybe more.
Yeah.
I think. I think with the Loch Ness Monster, it's a load of bullshit because people would have found it by now with all the technology we've got.
Yeah, there was back. Remember back in the 80s and 90s, there was always some Scot going out there with his little tugboat just to go and use sensors just to penetrate to find Nessie. And he was always on BBC Breakfast. And it was always nice little fluff piece to watch whilst you're eating your cornflakes. Bullshit, I say.
I enjoy watching Finding Bigfoot, the American TV show. Not that I believe in Bigfoot, but there's a guy on there. He's called Bobo. He's your typical sort of, I'll say, a bit overweight hillbilly. And he's so into it, you can sort of tell he wears a cap that says Squatch on it. And
for fuck's sake.
Every episode, they'll be like looking at something. They'll go to areas around the States. They'll be like in Maryland and they'll say, the local farmer was up in the woods the other day and he definitely saw something he can't explain. And they'll go up and have a look. And there'll be like a scratch on a tree. And this Bob will go, "That's a squatch. That's definitely a squatch."
Typical American.
There'll be like a small imprint in the ground that doesn't look like a trainer or a shoe. And it's definitely a squatch. It's so funny that he's convinced himself that there's Bigfoot or big feet, if that's right, if there's a plural for them.
Big feet.
And they send off. Yeah, I remember him finding some fur, and he was like, "This is Bigfoot fur." And he gave it to the scientist bloke to send off to analyse, and he was like, "Yes, it's actually a bear."
Brilliant.
So we've just disproved Nessie, Bigfoot, and we haven't even talked about demons too much. But again, I think we've discussed, I suppose, demonic possession, whether or not it's legit or not.
Nothing else. There's Nessie, Bigfoot. There must be other things. I mean, there's Lake Champion in America, and that's supposed to have its own Nessie. That's a massive place. That is. There must be other mythical.
There's a forgive me if I butchered this. It's a Chabacasaurus or something like that. It's basically it's like a demonic, blood-sucking goat bat.
Goat bat.
Something like that. Basically it's in Mexico and it basically sucks the blood of goats and stuff.
Yeah, that made me think of something actually, because you've got the Mothman as well.
Ooh.
The Mothman, yeah, that's bit of a legend.
Is it like a big moth with arms?
It's a big it's a big bad moth. Tell us
big-
legs.
So just carrying on with Clarky's story because he's pumped more into the Twitch chat. He says he did the Ouija board with family members, and apparently his granddad and his mum popped in answering the questions. It's one thing I just can't explain, as I always thought that sort of thing was bullshit. I'm stuck in two minds. Don't know if we were all just willing for something to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the willing for something to happen. I was a lot like that. As I've got older, I've become more chilled, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not writing off Ouija boards because there is more that goes on than we know about. I'm 100% convinced, and there's some sort of energy that could possibly drive these things. So I'm not. It could have happened.
It's the energy is called peer pressure and bullshit.
Oh dear.
That's a good question, Clark, I liked it. I don't really think this. We're just completely overruling the fact that something could have happened because it could have done.
No, could have done. Yeah, could have done. It could have done. But I want to reassure Clarky. He's a good lad, but I think just don't do Ouija boards. That's my advice.
Yeah.
The thing is, if we were all together, right, and we were in the middle of nowhere in some log cabin, having a drink and that, I would definitely be up for doing a Ouija board. I'm sure we'd have a great laugh doing it.
I wouldn't do it. I'd just sit.
I wouldn't do it, mate. I wouldn't do it.
No,
You wouldn't do it?
No, I wouldn't do it.
Why?
What? Because I've got principles, man. I'd be more concerned about everyone else. And besides, it's one of those situations. It's one of those situations that can really turn the room, if so to speak, in terms of the atmosphere. Not that it's supernatural, but some people do read into these things an awful lot more than others. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I have actually seen that sort of thing happen, and someone get into it more than that. But if you've got a couple of people there, you'd be able to tell within the first few minutes whether someone's going to take it the wrong way or you could stop it then. But I think it'd be. I would do it. I would do it just because it's a laugh. It's a laugh for one, and not the other thing is, if anything did happen, then you'd have some proof.
Yeah, but then, like, there's that supernatural part of me that thinks, you're letting the genie out of the bottle by inviting something in, and you might not be able to get rid of it. That's my thoughts on it. That's my superstition part.
Mm. Yeah, but there's ways of apparently saying goodbye and it leaving peacefully.
Yeah, but if you don't do it right, or it doesn't want to go, or so, I don't know, man. I wouldn't risk it, man. I wouldn't risk it. You call me mental, but yeah, I'd be one of those people that Dan would be worried about, 100%.
Yeah. I'll have to stay up looking after him.
We have to put Webby to bed to begin with.
Well, I wouldn't put to bed. He'd probably shit it.
No, I would shit it. I'd be like, I'm going home.
I've just realised that tonight I'm off work tomorrow, so tonight I'm doing an all-night imaging session in the back garden on my own in the dark.
Oh.
And now I'm starting to feel a bit nervous about what we've been talking about.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Are the skies clear tonight then?
They are, yeah, it's crystal clear.
Oh, it's a bit.
What is imaging?
I do astrophotography, so to take some deep sky object pictures, for want of a better expression.
Do you do like the time lapse things and all that?
No, just static pictures of various things.
Yeah.
And what sort of camera are you using?
Well, it's a special astrophotography cooled camera.
It's pretty awesome. You should have a look at some of the pictures.
They're awesome.
He's put up on Discord and stuff.
We're going to go for galaxies or nebula tonight, or.
So tonight I'm doing two nebulas. I'm doing the Bubble Nebula and the because I've got two setups going. The other one is the Pelican Nebula.
Oh, nice. We'll get to see those soon on Facebook. Yeah.
If it all goes well, I've never run 2 rigs at the same time, so it could all end up in disaster. It's hard enough running one, to be honest. So
Cool, man. Good luck with that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Have you
like
so have you not seen any UFOs through your telescopes then?
no, because it
I'm
doesn't.
disappointed. I'm disappointed.
It doesn't work like that, mate. It doesn't.
We had the UFO discussion last time.
Yeah, I know, but you spend all that
time.
time. You spend all that time looking up at the sky, and you've not seen one UFO.
No.
No.
It's disappointing, mate.
Sad face, eh?
Cool.
So
Yeah,
It was a
go
good
on.
spectacle last night. So the ISS passed over about 3 times in 4 hours.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of the times it had just gone over, there was quite a large meteor came into the atmosphere, but it had a sparkling trail behind it as well, which I've never seen before. Normally, you just see like a shooting star type effect of it just zooming across the sky.
UFO, mate.
UFO. There's aliens. The aliens are here. Ah.
Right, let's get off that. Let's get off that
Yep.
topic. We've already done that one.
Yeah.
Are we going to do conspiracies next? Real conspiracies,
gonna
like
say
flat Earth
conspiracies,
nonsense and contrails?
Yeah,
and...
yeah, we're gonna do.
Idiots.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are, because it's just super funny to talk about. I think so. I'm going to enjoy discussing all those things with you next. Not sure when we're going to do it though. Probably in about another month.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll try and fit that in. But I think on the paranormal stuff, I think that is probably all we can talk about on this fine evening.
Yeah, man.
No, that's good.
It's been a lot of fun. I've gotten a little bit scared hearing about your stories. It's been fun.
Cool,
Do. Was that my?
Are you going to have the light on tonight when you go to bed?
Yeah, big light.
Yeah, I have to put on the night light. Yeah.
No, he's done.
It's 10:10. I'm gonna go to bed early with all the lights out. I'm gonna sleep for 8 hours. It's gonna be glorious.
Nice.
Glorious.
It'd be like, why have you got the light on, Mark? Marcus wants it on.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear.
That's really good. The whole ghost thing, it's mad, isn't it? You can either believe it or you can't. As I've got older, I've sort of thought less about. Basically, I used to be 100% believer there were definitely ghosts, and now I'm more 50-50 with scientific sort of proof
I think
coming
it's like
in.
an age thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You get older and you get a bit more wiser, probably, or more stupid. I don't know, but
It's definitely stupider in my case, mate.
yeah, well, yeah,
It's like a balancing act. It depends on the day.
No, but I like. Yeah, when I was younger and that, I didn't used to like these skeptics and that. They were like, "No, I need scientific proof," but I like that more and more these days. But at the same time, you can't write it all off just because you haven't got the proof. It hasn't happened.
There's an element of that, but as well, there's also you need to be able to be trained to. Well, you be aware that there are grifters out there, who are making a living out of it, like people who regularly go on TV shows and go around haunted houses, like Derek Cora, bless his heart.
Yeah.
I'm afraid he was a grifter.
That actually put me off of the ghost things, watching those, most haunted and stuff like that. I was never into that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, you watch it and you'd be like, yeah. I mean, yeah, bless his heart and all that. He obviously enjoyed doing what he done.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping if any luck, he'll come back and haunt me tonight. I've been slagging him off.
Yeah.
Oh dear. All right, guys. Well, on that note, we'll try and arrange to do a episode on conspiracy theories. I mean, there are so many conspiracy theories out there that we'll probably only be able to do a few per episode. So this might carry us through multiple special episodes, which will be a lot of fun.
Me.
And I think the discussions will actually be be pretty sensible, Dan. To be honest, I know you're pretty worried about these conversations with me, but
You believe it's a right bullshit, mate.
I don't, man, because I can take it all with a pinch of salt. But I think
Okay.
I think we should definitely talk about some certain conspiracies. Like I'm here. I watched that flat Earth thing on Netflix and just pissed myself the whole way
Oh, it's
through.
funny. It's
Yeah, I just.
funny. But save it. Save it.
we
For now.
are going to save it. So
It'd be interesting to know if there's any flat earthers in the community and just to get their view on it, and
Yeah.
at the risk of losing a friend, basically.
Oh, never lose
Bring
it.
'em on.
You don't get, because if it did turn out that the world was flat, what's the difference? I don't get it. Yeah, the flat earthers went, oh, the world's flat. Okay, that's fine. I just don't understand what the whole, if the world did turn out to be flat, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
that's
it
great.
isn't. No, is it?
No, it's
So-
not. I know. Everyone knows it's not. I don't understand why they're so into it, but yeah. Well,
I've been
club, mate.
I've been following and trolling them for 4 years now. So
have you?
Yeah.
Save
Yes.
that. Save that. This is going to be entertaining. Maybe we could do the whole episode on flat Earths and then take it from there.
yeah, I bet there'll be a few questions there.
Maybe if we can find a flat Earther, we can get them on as a. But then again,
There's loads of conspiracies that we can talk about. It'd be good to have a few to talk about each, and then it would be a good topic.
We should do some more ones that are sort of, it could go either way, like JFK assassination. There's a lot of stuff in there that we
The
just.
moon landings, that sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Oh yeah, the moon one's a favourite of mine.
yeah. But we have been to the moon.
we have been to the moon.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But have we?
It's quite-
But have
it's
we
quite
though? Ooh.
We have.
It's quite obvious.
There's a couple of things I would like to say about the moon, but I don't want to go about it on the ghost talk. We'll save it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll save them.
There's not an alien base on the dark side of it.
No.
Well,
You got me all
Right,
excited.
cool.
Then.
It's been good.
Nice one.
yeah, it's good.
Cool, dudes. Well, I've really enjoyed this week's episode. It's been a lot of fun talking about something different than games. And I hope the patrons and the freeloaders on Twitch have really enjoyed this episode.
How many people have been listening in?
On
Straight where you go.
Twitch?
Yeah.
Well, there's 5 at the moment, but one of them's
5.
me.
Okay.
One of them is
Hello.
Ninja Rods.
Hello. Oh.
Ninja rods.
Yeah.
Hello.
Griffey and Clarky.
Okay.
And
Clarky's
some-
always there.
I think some of them are bots. I'm not sure because there's more than
Okay.
5 in the chat.
Okay. Well, hopefully someone
Right.
has enjoyed this.
Oh, Griffey's here. Hello, Griffey. Griffey says, "Lol, freeloader. I was a patron before." Well, sign up again, Griffey. Come on. Come on,
Griffey,
sign
come
up.
on.
Come
What the
on,
hell?
Griffey. Do it.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Do it now. Get to the
Cool.
chopper.
Get to the chopper. Right, guys, we're going to end it here. Thank you very much. So for me,
Cool.
Mark Webb, Gamertag, PNSN ID, Steam ID, Webby 360G.
Sleep tight. Cinema down.
Why did the ghost go into a bar? For the booze, obviously. So, Gas, see you later.
Yeah, take care, guys. It's been emotional from Damiano and Ricardo.
Awesome. So, thank you very much. Don't forget you can visit the website 360gamercast.com. If you go to the website, you will find the links for the Twitch, the Facebook, everything, the Patreon link. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Good times. So
Nice.
thank you very much. We will see you next week. Goodbye.